Kia ora. Welcome to Business Your Way, a podcast where I take you behind the scenes and look at the strategies, systems, and support needed to grow and scale an online service business. Because you deserve a business that doesn't feel like work, one that gives you energy and the resources to do what matters most to you. Whether it's figuring out where to spend your time, how to maximize your profitability, or streamlining your processes so things get done quickly and efficiently, my guests and I, we've got you covered. I'm your host, Sandra Julian, Indigenous mama of three, fashion-loving sewist, and business strategist. Each week, I want to help you dream big, plan well, and do the work to grow and scale your business your way. Elizabeth, welcome to the Business Your Way podcast. I know it's early morning for you, so I really appreciate you, taking the time, and the time zones between both of us are just like it's many, many hours. So I appreciate you, being early morning with a young family to join me here on the podcast. So welcome along.
Thank you so much, Sandra. I'm excited to talk today.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into lots of things. Like we were just talking before we hit record, and I'm like, I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about this. Oh, and I want to talk about that. So I've got all the things that I want to talk about with you.
Yes, let's dive in here.
Perfect. All right. With all my guests, I always ask that you start by just introducing yourself, who you serve, and what you do to make your moolah.
Perfect. I am Elizabeth. I'm a web designer, brand strategist, an architectural designer, and founder of Studio Classica. And I help purpose-driven female entrepreneurs, coaches, industry experts, service providers, and, really passionate people scale their businesses with impactful branding and design. And the goal is to help you attract your dream clients, elevate your online business, and book out your offers, also while creating a big impact in the world. And so we specialize, specifically with Kajabi websites. It's our main niche currently. But as you heard, I'm also an architectural designer. So that's a huge part of my background and the other half of my business as well.
So it's a mini intro of your business, right?
Yeah. It was the core of our business since day one. And okay, so I say our. I run a husband and wife business. That's how we got started. And we're both architects. And in the beginning, we started our business offering architectural services. So that's where we are. It's still a big part of the business.
So you don't consider yourself like you've got two different businesses? Do they sit under the same brand, or are they different?
That's such a good question. And honestly, that is something that's evolving. And I think that's normal as an entrepreneur. Sometimes we have so many ideas and so many directions we want to go, and you can't always follow all those things. But it is something that's evolving. I would say it could be, I probably should think about that more. It is kind of under the same umbrella, but it is also two separate markets, two separate, niche clients and everything. So good question.
Yeah, because what goes to my mind specifically is they're two different businesses with two different niche, two different, different clients in both of them. How do you separate that and avoid the confusion? Because someone go, I thought Studio Classica was a web design, brand company. And then someone else goes, I thought Studio Classica was an architect agency.
Yeah. Okay. So such a good question. And again, this is evolving. So historically we were under a different name, and the architecture was under a different name, and it kind of still is. The goal with Studio Classica, it is very web and branding focused, but a longer term vision, like the future five-year self or 10-year version of what I envision for the company is that it's again under that umbrella, and that they are more closely related. So that's why it's evolving, is because it's kind of a big picture goal where eventually we would help with a whole suite of, from identifying the branding to evolving it with your digital presence, your online, your online branding, your website, your social media, your whole presence online, and then extending that into like a physical realm. If you have a physical business or, a institution or something where you need then the whole architectural services. So it's like a big vision.
So they actually complement one another.
Yeah, I think they do. And I think that their skill set is so closely related and that they complement each other for sure. Imagine we don't serve this market right now, but let's say, a restaurant, for example, they would need from the beginning, a whole set of architectural services, interior branding services, but then they would also want to build their online presence to attract clients and, build out all of that. So it's kind of strange. In my mind, they're all related, but definitely from the outside, if you look at our history, they are two separate businesses that in the future it's kind of would evolve into one.
Okay, nice. So then how did you make that move from architect into web design?
Oh, such a good question. It was just with our background. So we got started 10 years ago. I started in the online space. First off, freelancing, going to like freelancing websites and just finding clients online. And I would offer any kind of design service, at that I could do. So, or even if I couldn't do it, if I was able to figure it out, I would say, yes, I can do this project. And that was really, really great for experience. You're getting different kinds of experience and taking on all kinds of different design projects. So what I mean is, 3D rendering projects, digital illustration projects, for like map illustration projects, of course, like designing houses, doing architectural drawings, and then evolving that. I took on like a web design project. And at that time I was just saying yes to everything, which I don't recommend, but it was really, really great for experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when we start out, we actually start out exactly like that. We take on lots of work to see what we're capable of, see what we'll settle into. I remember our very first early days, in business, we were doing bookkeeping and payroll and contract and budgeting and events. And like we had a whole suite of things that we were just doing. It's like we had a pool of clients. Every time they had a need was like, hand up, yes, let me help you with that. So,
wow. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. So I think your story too is of that similar vein where you're like, just anything remotely in that wheelhouse, let me do that. Let me see if I can help you out there, because I know I can figure it out because it's not too far off what I already do know. So, yeah, I think that is like I resonate with that story and starting out in business like that and just doing everything you possibly could. One, I think it tests your own capability and your own skill set. And two, it helps you work out what you do or don't like doing.
Absolutely. You get to know so well what you do like doing and how you want to spend your time. And we just said yes to everything like all day long. And, if you're just starting out in your business, I do think it's a good way to get experience and a good way to gain skills and just know to like go beyond that though. Like once you do start to get a sense of what you don't like, then start saying no to those kinds of things and, focus on the things you do like.
Yeah, I agree. So how did you make that transition from like architect, very traditional kind of business office space, to how did you make that move into, I want to be an online business owner? Because when you started your business, you were online from the get-go, right? So how did you know that was the path that you wanted to take?
I didn't know actually, but I wish I knew. I didn't know because it was the circumstances at that time. And if you were in the architecture industry in let's say 2011, 2012, it was very difficult in the job market to find employment as a new young architecture graduate. And the job opportunities at that time were not available. So I remember I applied 30 or 40 places. I sent off a CV, a resume, a portfolio. And in the end, none of it came through unfortunately, but also fortunately, because here I am, today with my own business. And so the result of that was, I wanted to find something to do, some way to use my skills in a valuable way. So that is how we dove online, was, Google searching something like how to make money online as a designer, or how to start freelancing online. I think that those kind of Google searches in the beginning, and it's so easy to say now, but it takes so much to figure it out then when you are at that moment. And so that was the beginning, was figuring that out, and then finding early on, discovering places like freelancing websites. And, there's lots of positives and negatives of those, but that was a really great start. And that's how we got started online, was just diving into it and like figuring it out. And I remember getting like very, very first freelancing job. It was not even design related, but I said yes to it.
And this was you and your husband doing exactly the same thing. Like, how do we do this?
Well, exactly. It was exactly that, because we were both recent architecture graduates in a very, not good, the post, what do you call it? In that time, 2011, post crash, from the economy crash. So it was really good. It was a good result in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And so tell me a bit about, life as a husband and wife business, like starting it from scratch. In those early days, there's like not a lot of money. You're freelancing, picking up, odd jobs here and there. How was that life in that time, if you like? If that's how I can word that question.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It was okay. So, I mean, it was just, I would say it was challenging, to be honest, financially challenging at that time, but we were very frugal at that time, and just, I don't know, we made it work. We always had enough, money for what we needed in that moment. And we were very determined to make it work though. So let's see, it was in the fall, like September, when I started to discover these freelancing design websites. And it took a couple months to get that first job, which sounds like such a long time now, but it took a couple months to get that very first opportunity. And once we got that first one, which, just for a reference, it was for a $40 project for transcribing audio, not even design related. But that first one was such a mindset shifter. Like, actually, we could make this work. And within a month, we had booked over $1,000 in services. And within a few months, we were at a couple $1,000s in services, all from freelancing websites, from different kinds of design opportunities. So, we were determined to make it work. I do remember the few months, we were just very frugal, very simple in those times.
Yeah. And then once you were able to make it work, then things grew from there. When did you really lean into like web design and brand strategy? When did you really start leaning into that?
That was an evolution from my own personal interest. And I taught myself WordPress 15 years ago. And it was only for my own projects, my own creative projects, and just to figure it out. So I started in WordPress only for personal projects. And when I really leaned into branding web design, it was 2018 to 2019. So already at that time, 6 or 7 years into our business. And, so at this moment, a few years ago, and that's when I started to lean into it, because I was like, I really like this digital design process of creating a visual design online, but I also absolutely love helping with the business strategy and how people are like launching their courses or launching their programs or their websites to support their business. How does that tie into the business strategy and building an online business? And I absolutely love that, and tying it in with the design skills. So yeah, it was a few years ago now that I really leaned into it, and what it evolved into what it is now.
Yeah. And so what does the business look like now for both of you?
It's so different than even a few years ago. And I deal with all web and branding projects, and my husband only deals with the architecture projects. I also do the big vision on design for the architecture projects, but I don't do all the nitty gritty right now. He deals with that. And on the web and branding side, I also have a team now that helps support all of our clients. So we work together on all the website projects, on all the Kajabi projects, and what it looks like. Yeah, that's what it looks like now. Is there is clear division in what each of us are doing, and have a very good sense of what our strengths are and like what our role is as a husband-wife team, and now not just the two of us, but also having team members.
And so you're operating in an agency model now where you are taking on the done for you service and doing websites for clients?
Yes, absolutely. We're doing done for you design services, and we are design studio together. All of my team members, we live all in the same city, so it's very close knit. We're all in-house in the company. So we sometimes are working at, right now with the situation, we're working at home some days, but we also were working in our office all together and had a really good dynamic. And I think that helps really build a strong, a really successful projects for our clients.
Nice. So even though you are working with clients all around the globe, you're actually in a physical location in an office setting all together. So you're not operating a remote team as such.
Yeah, it's so unique, I think, in this space, but I love being able to collaborate in person. And that comes from my background in architecture, of really having that studio collaboration in person. Like I couldn't imagine it not, I can now definitely imagine like remote collaboration in the architecture space, but it really comes from that background and how we, studied in school, and then how the traditional architecture model works, and having that in-person collaboration, it was really a big value for me. So that's a reason why I mainly found, local designers.
So how many on your team at the moment?
We are, I think, 5. We have 5 designers right now. And then I also have 2 contractors, then they are remote for specific needs in the business.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how much are you doing in the business now that you've got a small team who are doing all of the hands-on work and building stuff out and getting the projects done and delivered? What's your role in the business now that you've got a team?
I still feel like I wear like all the hats, right? As business owners, it's like we wear all the hats, so that's evolving. But I do all the design, or most of the design. No design leaves our studio unless I've reviewed it, made changes, finalized it, perfected it. So I still is like all overseeing everything. And then I still do all personal communication with our clients, because I absolutely love that part of it and building that relationship with clients. So I really like to understand, who they are and what they do. So all that communication is something I'm the one doing. It's just such a good question, because it's like you feel like, oh, I still do all the things, but no, it's a process to learn to delegate, right? Yeah. So I do have support for social media, but I also still do a lot of that myself. And another role is, organizing all the revisions from clients. I currently, go through all those revisions, all those notes, and then pass it to a team member if I feel like that's the best person to do it. Sometimes I'm the one to do it. I'm the one that goes in the Kajabi and makes the forms work, or makes the emails, make sure they're set up after somebody, submits the form, or changing like little details. I definitely am still in there doing that.
Yeah. And are all of your team members hands-on doing client work? So they are what I call money-generating team members, because all the work that they do is related to delivering a project for which you're charging? Or do you also have non-charging team members like virtual assistant or a social media manager, or, that aren't doing client work but are doing your business work in or on your business? Do you have any team members like that?
Yeah. Oh, such a good question. Okay. So first off, we were husband and wife for so long, and it was so challenging to bring on that very first team member, somebody outside of us to help us. And the very first hire that I did was another designer, a web designer. And so that was the first one. And then the second and third hire was actually more web designers. So yes, we have several web and branding designers that I love that expression, the money. What did you say? Money generating team members.
Yeah, because I call them money generating team members. And like, I believe when you are building an agency, your first hire should be a money generating person, so that you can bring in more clients and generate more paying work, as opposed to bringing in a non-money generating team member, which is usually you bring it on to support your business activity. And whilst that might free up a little bit of your time, it puts more pressure on you as the business owner to generate that money to now pay for two salaries, So I am always of the opinion that when we're building an agency, our first hire should be a money generating team member, so we can delegate client work to that team member. And for 90% of their day, they are working on client projects which are generating revenue for the business, which as a business owner frees you up to then bring in more clients. So then you are increasing your capacity to generate money.
Yes, that's so good and so true. So everybody listen, follow Sandra's advice. That is exactly what we did.
Good.
That was what was needed at the time. Was like, I was attracting so many web design clients, so many Kajabi clients and branding clients. And it was like, I need another person like me doing design.
Yes.
And that was the first hire.
Yes, you need to clone you. And the only way to clone you is to get someone to take on the client work. Love it. I mean, and I love that that's where you naturally went. You're like, all right, I need another one of me. So I need to bring someone in who can do that. So good from the get-go.
Yeah. So that's where we are now. And then, as you said, I more recently did invest in a social media manager and worked with a really great team last year on that. And I then also just recently invested in a virtual assistant to only do tasks for myself, like my own business. Because as a service provider, those tasks are at the bottom of my list.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yeah.
So I'm testing this out. I'm full transparency. I'm testing it out. Where we just started and I'm testing out, delegating things for my own business and I'm still getting used to that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard when you've been at the helm for so long and been the doer of all things. It's definitely a process that we have to go through to learn to offload and trust. Yeah. I want to really dive into, of all of the web platforms that you could have chosen for your web design, you chose Kajabi. Has it always been Kajabi, or did you start with WordPress or start with another platform and evolve into Kajabi? Tell me about that journey with Kajabi.
Absolutely. I love Kajabi, but I also never try to promote one specific platform to people. It's always what's the right choice for you. But my own background with this is I started with WordPress. I taught myself WordPress, like I said, 15 years ago, like a very long time ago. And I love WordPress also. However, well, we'll talk about it in a minute. But so WordPress is possible. Then I evolved into doing Squarespace a little bit. And then I evolved into what I can do is a Wix platform, Squarespace, WordPress, Kajabi, Kartra, ClickFunnels, lead pages, like this. So, but just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do all those things. So just because I can do those platforms, I'm a big believer now in saying no to things and to niching down to one specialization.
And why Kajabi? Like all those platforms you just rattled off, they are all like decent platforms.
Yeah, they're all good. They all have unique position, and we, at a very selective basis, might take on a project under those platforms. So Kajabi evolved because in 2019, I wanted a bit of a change in my life. And this corresponded to starting to do web design and branding design. But I also was very interested in becoming an online coach and learning how to become an online coach. And I went and invested into a coaching program, and it was an intensive 12 weeks where I learned, how you use social media to attract clients, how do you launch your coaching program, and all kinds of things related to that. And I really loved the impact that coaches make, whether it's on your business or on your life or on your health or on your fitness or wherever they're, the different niches of coaching. I love that impact that people are making through coaching. And it's such a modern field or specialization or industry, I guess. But it's amazing. And so I'm super passionate about that. And then, of course, passionate about design. So I really dove into Kajabi through the process of merging those two things. And Kajabi being a really great platform for online coaches and for online knowledge-based entrepreneurs. So it was emerging, and Kajabi is just such a great platform to support those kind of entrepreneurs and those kind of businesses. So that's the why.
Nice. I like it. And the why behind why you went there wasn't technical. It wasn't like, because Kajabi had this technicality and that technicality, and it could house this and it could house that. Actually, it's because there is a deeper or a more aligned purpose with what you want to do. So I love that you shared that with us. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned the WordPress thing, and I took a moment to not go down that route, but I will mention here, but WordPress, I love WordPress also. I love it for my own projects, and I have supported I've supported a few clients, a number of clients through WordPress, but it is a very technical platform. And like you just said, it wasn't a technical reason why we went with Kajabi, but I would say when it comes to WordPress, it is a technical reason, which is you have to be very technical minded to maintain a WordPress website. And I'm finding, that's not the typical person, let's say. And so we no longer say yes to WordPress projects because it's just such a technical process of supporting clients. And oftentimes their websites break or they have technical problems. And I like solving problems, but I just find that it's too much of a problem for people, especially when something happens to their website.
Yeah, I just went through that experience last week.
Yes.
I'm pretty technical. I've been building my own website since it became a drag and drop thing, because, when I started out in business, you couldn't build your own website. You actually, you needed a web designer and you paid dearly for one. So when the ability to, build your own drag and drop, I started, tampering with that. And so my website broke last week. And we just couldn't get to the bottom of it, 3 days later. And we finally, fixed it. But that was a complete uninstall of WordPress, reinstall of WordPress, reinstall of a backup, and we're away and laughing again. But that was really stressful for 3 days because everything in my business goes through my website. So all of my links to my downloads, all of my links to my podcast, everything goes through the website. So for that to be down for 3 days was so stressful and so tearing my hair out that I couldn't focus on anything else but that. We're back up and running now, so it's all good and it's all behind us. But it has got me thinking around, should I move off WordPress? And so this is really top of my mind right now. So that you are, you've chosen Kajabi, what would you consider the pros and cons about switching to Kajabi that you would kind of advise me of, given that this wound I have is so raw?
Oh, yes. And I'm so sorry for that technical down. That is stressful when your website is not working and it is a big part of your business. And, the one reason you could consider Kajabi, so we could talk about the pros, the positives here is I don't know the numbers, but it is rarely down, and they have an amazing support team if there are issues. And I think with WordPress, there's not a dedicated support team, because it's an open source platform. And Kajabi, you have always, there's a very good, at least in my experience, always a very good help like a live chat or email support, or there's a very supportive Facebook group. So you have a community of like Kajabians, I think is the word, of people just really supporting the platform. And, that's a great from a technical support point of view. But other positives, so the whole big question is whether or not to put your website on Kajabi alongside your email list or your courses. And a big positive of that is it's all in one place. It's all in one place where you can connect everything and link everything and update everything. A big reason why people do switch to Kajabi is previously they had a WordPress site, they had an email list that was on, ConvertKit or another tool. They had their payment systems going through, a Dubsado or PayPal, like another platform. So they have all these tools. And Kajabi helps you eliminate those tools and streamline into one platform, because you can have your website, you can have your email list, your payments processing, and your course, and so much more. So a big positive is putting it all in one platform. And another positive is the website ability is, it's still like WordPress. It's like, it's not quite drag and drop, but it is very user friendly, and it's very front end and very visual. And I would say a lot of people do find it very easy to use. Some people, for some people it is not easy to use, but that's why you just need to test the platform if it works for you. A few cons about Kajabi are that it will seem like a bigger cost. But so if you go look at like the monthly fee or the annual fee, it seems like a more expensive platform. I mean, it is a more expensive platform, but depending where you are in your business, and I've done the numbers for clients, is it could actually be a lower cost than paying for all these different tools. So if you're at the point where you need to pay for your email tool, you need to pay for Dubsado, for example, you need to pay for your different things, like all these multiple tools, and those numbers start to add up, right? So I did the math for a few clients, and they were paying more for all those tools than if they just switched to Kajabi, they would be paying less for that. Wow. It depends where you are with the business, though.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So if you're actually using all of the Kajabi features, then it can be more economical than trying to have multiple tools in a tech stack that you have to piece together.
Yeah, exactly.
What about like things like backup? So WordPress, you have to back up your website regularly. That's on you. Kajabi, is that on you as the owner of the website to back it up, or is that something that comes as a default with Kajabi?
Oh, that's a good question. And I've never had anybody ask me that. But, yes, with WordPress, you have to set it up. You need to have the backups. And it's very good to have the backups because if you don't, you could be in a problem. With Kajabi, there is this might be a con. We're going to put this under the con. With Kajabi, there's not a backup tool, and if you accidentally delete a page, it's gone. So yes, be careful of that. But that's a good question. You can go and click and export your pages, and it will send you an email with those pages. You can download a backup, and then in that way you have a backup. But it's not quite the same thing as what you're saying with WordPress, where you have a plugin that would regularly back up your website.
Yeah, that's right. Because, for instance, I've got, landing pages, sales pages, all of my email sequences, all of my weekly emails, my podcast, my coaching programs, my courses are all in Kajabi. But what if that crashed? Like, what if Kajabi, what if their whole system crashed? Or what if only my site crashed? Because I did something weird and wonderful that broke it. I don't know what I would have done, but have you had other clients that have come across like that situation where it's just unique to them? Or because I suppose that's the other kind of fear, I suppose, that I might not be alone in thinking that if I put all my eggs in one basket, is that such a good move?
It's such a personal question, I think, whether you're comfortable with that or you're not comfortable with that. And so historically, I have not seen, only one person have a Kajabi website totally down and inaccessible. That's a situation I've never seen. I'm not saying it has never happened, but I've never seen that. Whereas with WordPress, in the past 6 months, 3 of our WordPress clients came to me and said, "Oh, my WordPress site is down, and it's like the white screen. It's known as like the white screen. White screen of death is what it's known as in the WordPress world." And 3 clients have had that. That's happened in the past 6 months. Now I know how to fix that, but we don't want that situation in the first place.
Yeah. That was my experience last week. I had the white screen and
yes,
no error messages, but a white screen. So I'm like, and that wasn't the initial problem. That was the end result of trying to fix the problem. So, I mean, that's a whole story that I'm like, I've put a lid on that and said goodbye because I'm back up and running again. But, definitely this is top of my mind right now, because up until this point, I like my WordPress website, but I like my Kajabi for everything else. And I'm happy with both of them. And I think not having all my eggs in one basket is a smart move. Now I'm reassessing my thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no right answer, I believe. But with Kajabi, you don't have this issue of plugins. So there's no such thing as plugins with Kajabi. And that is a big reason why WordPress sites crash is you don't know what to expect when you have all these plugins. So that doesn't exist in Kajabi, which in that sense, it could be more limited. Like you can easily add functionality that you might have been used to with WordPress. If I could think of an example, for example, like we were talking before this, the pretty links plugin.
That's my favorite plugin.
Yeah, it's a really great plugin. It makes, really nice link that sends people to the right place if you're not familiar with it. And now with Kajabi, you can't go, there's no plugin, so you can't go and add that functionality directly in Kajabi. Well, I guess, yeah, it depends on how technical your needs are. I do find a lot of the client, Sandra's a very technical person. I can tell you are, but a lot of people who don't want to deal with all of that Kajabi is such a great platform to make it easy and to make it a simplified system on the one place.
Nice. And do you find yourself having to put code into Kajabi to get it to do fancy things, as opposed to, building websites that individuals could essentially build themselves? Do you find yourself coding or creating special templates for your clients? How far do you go down that customized route?
Yeah. Well, I balance it based on the person's needs. We love to do a lot of coding. We love to do a lot of, custom CSS and custom HTML coding to make a beautiful result in the end. And I think that having our team and myself, we have a really great knowledge of the technical coding and can make things happen. But we also have really great understanding of just design principles and design, theory and how to balance colors and typographies and a whole background. We're all trained as designers from a technical and from an educational point of view. And so combining those two things helps create, really unique end result of a Kajabi website that doesn't look like a default Kajabi website. But if we have clients that they want to be able to customize it themselves, and the code. So we balance the coding and say, okay, we'll do less coding, or we'll keep it simplistic, or we know how to do it still to look nice, but be easy for you to edit.
Nice. I like that. Based on the individual's need. Perfect. I don't want to keep you away from your new baby for too much longer. So let's wrap this up. If people wanted to reach out to you to get assistance with their Kajabi site, or for you to help them with their branding and package that all together to give them a beautiful online presence, where can they find you?
All right. Well, if you're just starting on Kajabi and you want simple checklists, like here's what you need to do to really get started on that platform, I have a free resource. It's a essential checklist for Kajabi. So you can find that at studioclassica.com/Kajabi-checklist. And it's a really great resource to give you the first 8 to 9 steps to what to do if you just start your Kajabi platform. So how to get it up and running, how to get the main things connected and the main settings all set up so that then you're ready to move forward with it.
Beautiful.
And
I will
yeah, but yeah,
put
go
that
ahead.
into the show notes because, because I've got a little technical knowledge and maybe too much for my own good, but when I log into someone's online course and they haven't customized it, I'm like, I want to send them a checklist of what to do to make that look better.
Oh, yes, for the courses. Oh, that would be a great one for that. Yeah, that's a great one I should do next.
Yeah, like so often I get in there and the banner's not been updated or the footer's not been updated or the colors haven't been updated. And it just looks like the standard Kajabi course platform that they've just plugged their content into and not worried about the aesthetics of it. So, someone like me who's got just a little bit too much technical knowledge for her own good looks at it and goes, oh, I want to get in there and I want to fix that for you because that's not hard. Yeah. So to be able to send them your way and go, please go and get Elizabeth's checklist and just customize your Kajabi so it looks like your brand.
Yeah, exactly. And having that branding, having that moment where you log in and you want that to match your branding, you want that to feel like your students are in the right place and that they're part of something special. So simple customizations. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. You want to make them feel like they're in the right place. So true. So true. Beautiful, Elizabeth. So where do you hang out on social media the most?
You can find me on Instagram, and I, share in my Instagram stories and on my feed. Sometimes, with social media, sometimes it's a priority and sometimes it's goes less a priority, but I'm always usually on Instagram.
Yeah, me too. Sometimes I'm there lots, sometimes I'm not there lots. I come and go. Depends on how I feel, how much energy I have. So, and you've got young baby, so that's completely understandable.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining me today. We have dived into all the things and, sharing your journey to moving from architect into Kajabi specialist. Thank you for sharing that journey with us. I always like to look under the hood and look at other people's journeys because it's the journey that others can then see themselves in to some degree and not feel as though they are completely on the wrong path, because at the end of the day, we're all just figuring it out, right?
I agree. Everything there's a reason for everything, and everything leads to the next thing. And it always makes sense in the end.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for your time. Like, we could just go on and I could continue talking to you, but I think our listeners, we need to let them go and enjoy the rest of their day. So I'm going to put the link to your checklist and all the link to your social media profiles so people can go and check out your work, reach out if they need some help in that arena, and enjoy the rest of your day. Go enjoy the new baby, and I will talk to you again real soon.
Thank you so much, Sandra, and hope you enjoyed this episode.